Guys, today we're talking about measures of central tendency. You might not be familiar with that term, but you're familiar with what it is. All it is that we're doing today is finding the mean, median, mode, and range of a data set. You've done this before in 6th grade, I'm almost positive, although you may not remember it, but you have. Please put the date in the upper right-hand corner. The page number for this should be page 4, but if I'm wrong, please kindly tell me tomorrow. And I want you to write down what we use these measures of center for. They help us draw conclusions from sets of data. So the mean is the average number. And how many times in your life do you hear about average? Average is everywhere. We use these measures of center probably much more often than you would initially think. So let's look at some examples, and then tomorrow in class we'll actually apply this to some real-world situations. So the mean is simply the average of the numbers in the data set, and to find this you add all the numbers together and then divide by the number of numbers. You actually need to count the number of numbers. There might be 4, 5, 10, whatever. The median is the middle number. Okay, this is probably the one that people have the most difficulty finding. You first have to list the numbers in order from least to greatest, and then you kind of count from the outside edges to find what the middle number is, and we'll show you an example of this in just a minute. If there happen to be 2 numbers in the middle, you take those 2 numbers and you find the average, which is the mean, what we just talked about, all right? We have an example that we're going to go through that has 2 numbers in the middle of a data set, so you can see what we do there. The mode is the one that occurs most often. I like to use that trick to help remember. Mode is most. They both start with the same 2 letters. Use those kind of memory tricks to help you memorize these kind of vocabulary terms. So it's the one that occurs most often. If you have 25s and every number occurs once, 5 is going to be your mode. And range is the span of the data set. It's the biggest number in your data minus the smaller number. And this is the first measure of variability that we're going to talk about this year. We're going to do a couple different kinds of variability, but range is the most basic one. Your range can tell you if your data points are really, really spread out, like let's say you have everything from 0.1 to 2,500,000, that's a huge range. Whereas your another set of data might only go from 10 to 15. That's a much smaller range. So that gives you information about your data. So we're going to use all of these things and we're going to try to find the mean, median, mode, and range of a data set. And this one's pretty basic. We have this data set 15, 30, 22, 18, 28. Let's start out by finding the mean. If you remember from our definition, you add all the numbers together and then divide by the number of numbers. So I'm going to do 15 plus 30 plus 22 plus 18 plus 28. And then I'm going to take all of that and divide it by the number of numbers I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. If you put this top part in your calculator first, because remember, according to PEMDAS, we have to do parentheses first. So you add up all these numbers on top. Once you add them up, you divide by 5, and the answer that you get is 22.6. All right, nice, easy average. And you can always double check your average by kind of looking at your data points in your data set. And notice 22.6 kind of makes sense. It's kind of right in the middle-ish of where all these numbers are. The median is the true middle of the data set, and you just list the numbers from least to greatest first. So my smallest number is 15. I suggest you cross them off as you write them on your list so that you don't make really silly mistakes and forget numbers. We've got 18 next, and then 22. Please make sure when you're writing these notes, you write all of this work that I'm showing, or else you're not going to get full credit on it. 28 and 30. Then I look for the middle number. I'll use red here to cross out going from the outside edges. I'm going to do 1 on the left, 1 on the right, one on the left, one on the right, and I'm left with 22 right in the middle, so that's going to be my median. My mode here is whichever number occurs most often. Once you put the numbers in order from least to greatest, it's really easy to see what number occurs multiple times. And in this case, we actually have no mode. It is possible to have no mode if you have no numbers repeated in the data set. Finally, our range, remember from our definition, we take the largest number, subtract the smallest number. Once again, if you've put your numbers in order from least to greatest to find the median, this becomes pretty easy. We have our biggest number, which is 30. We subtract our smaller number, which is 15, and that gives us a range of 15. So these are our measures of central tendency for this data set. Let's go ahead and try another example. I'm going to pause the video, and I want you guys to actually work this out on your own, showing all the work. Please do this. I know those people who ignore the instructions, don't pause the videos, don't try it on your own, and it really causes you some problems because you don't understand the concepts. I want you to try this on your own, pause the video, and then I'll pop the answers up in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, my answers are 13.3 for the median, which you would get by adding up all the numbers, 8 plus 12 plus 7 plus 20 plus 20 plus 13, and then dividing by the number of numbers, which is 6 in this case. The median, this one, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys had some trouble with. Let's list our numbers in order from least to greatest. We have 7, 8, 12, 13, 20, and 20. If we look for the middle number, we cross out from the outside edges, one on the left, one on the right. I actually end up having two numbers in the middle. You don't get to just choose one of them. Your median is actually right between those two numbers. And if we look at our definition, if there are two numbers in the middle, find the average of these two numbers. So we have to take an extra little step here. We have to find the average or the mean of 12 and 13. So we're going to take 12 plus 13, add the numbers together, and divide by the number of numbers, which in this case is 2. And that will give me 12.5. My mode is the number that occurs most often. I can look from my list of least to greatest that 20 occurs twice, nothing else does. So my mode is just 20. And my range is the largest number minus the smallest. 20 minus 7 equals 13. Hopefully you got those right. If you didn't, you understand what mistakes you made. And then I want you to try this reflection all on your own. Make sure you show all of your work in your notes so I can see it. For your response in Edmodo, you just have to write mean, tell me what it is. Median, tell me what it is. You do not have to show your work for the reflection. In Edmodo, sorry, you do on your notes. Have a good day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.